We are out here with Gregory Lee Smith. We are on the streets of Santa Cruz, California. We have a noisy bus behind us. We are on the levy. Gregory, tell me your story.
Oh yeah, I ended up here in Santa Cruz because I left San Francisco because of I had been injured it was either an officer or security guard. I couldn't tell you which because I didn't get any more feedback on it after later. But the officer or security guard was fighting for his gun with four black males, and they were fighting hardcore for his gun when I got off the BART and I got shot in the head by his gun because they were all fighting for it. And it was a grazing shot, but on the other side of my head, on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side here, it hit me. And then on the right-hand side here, it caused a bleed on the inside of my brain, where my brain is, called subdural hematoma. And it was that and a few other things had me scared to be there after that had happened. I was really catching it from everybody that wasn't white. I was getting it really bad, and I'm not a racially orientated person. I come from a very culturally diverse family, and they a couple other incidents, and at least one other person I got in a fight, and the person he ended up dying about 3 weeks after the fight from a bleed in his brain, and it just it tore me up. But I thought that I got scared and thought that I might be in danger, and I stayed there as little time as possible. But I walked around, and from that subdermal hematoma, I was like everything had a blue or teal kind of dirty filter over it, like if you put a filter over a picture. And I left there and came here, and my significant other she started she would not leave, and she started having a hard time. But I'd rather be homeless and at least halfway content in my understanding of life than be full of money or have a house and everything else and not be able to say that I was looking out for the ones that I love. But it's just like amazing that I'm still alive. I was out for 3 days, and then when I woke up, I went to look for her, and I just left the hospital. And ever since I found it so really hard to get any medical attention for anything to do with my head. They just don't go there. They won't pay attention to what I say to them. And but here in Santa Cruz, it's a pretty good place to be. There was a lot of people here when I got here, like 7,000 people, right? They were homeless right after I got here, and then it goes up and down now, but there's not nowhere near that many, I don't think. But that's Gregory Lee Smith, and that's where I'm at. I hope you guys have a great day, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. So could I just get some clarification on some details? So basically you're saying you were in San Francisco, there was a little bit of a fight over a handgun?
Yeah, there were four guys on one guy, and the guy was either an armed security officer or a police officer, and they were fighting him for his gun.
And that gun ended up firing at you?
Yeah, yeah.
So you weren't involved in anything?
No, I was just having to step up to the top step on the BART, right there by the Carl's Jr. And then when I got shot, and I started bleeding, and I walked to the UN Plaza where the other Carl's Jr. is, and got a ride in the ambulance from there.
So basically, you were about to get on a BART?
I was getting off the BART.
Getting off the BART in San Francisco?
Yeah.
And you were a bystander that was shot?
Yeah, I got all the way to the top steps on the outside entrance of the BART, and there's a Carl's Jr. right there, and I got shot in the head right then.
And did it go into your skull and out, or was it lodged?
It was a ricochet.
Oh, ricochet.
It skinned by the side here.
Oh, okay.
But it was hard enough to make me have a bleed over here.
Wow. And did that cause any permanent brain damage?
I don't know.
What was your life like before that incident?
Um, well, I mean, I was going to come here to go to college, but to finish out my associate arts degree at Cabrillo College, and then go to Santa Cruz University of Santa Cruz. But I haven't ended up doing that. I was doing pretty good. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what you mean. I was in I had an apartment and everything else there in San Francisco. Yeah, I lived at the Aranda Hotel. But so I was doing all right. I was doing pretty good.
So now you've been out of a job for a while, I understand, and you've been living on the street for a while as well. What is that like? What is your daily life like on the street?
Pretty depressing. Pretty depressing. I suffer bouts of depression, and sometimes I just start to cry without any real known reason why or any meaning behind it. But and that's been for some years I've done that. But I don't know. I mean, I noticed some things that some people, I don't know where I met them. Maybe I didn't meet them. They seem very familiar, and I don't know. But then there's a lot of people that I recognize that I did know, and but it's like everybody started seeming familiar, and then like I was saying, I had like a film over my eyes, like it looked like color blue gray over everything for a long time, and it sounded like, I mean, if somebody would yell or get loud around me, I would go. It would go two. It was like when two people whistle at the same time, and it goes right, like they go. The pitches go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it would sound like if somebody would get loud around me. And I mean, sometimes it still does, but and I've been on the doctors for the whole time I've been here. I've been here over 10 years to help me find out what I can do, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like to be able to go back to work, but it's been a long time now too, and I don't understand what to do, because I had a payee. They gave me a payee, and I was on Social Security when I got here, SSI, SSD, and then they took in for some reason the lady at the thing over here decided she was going to take it on to herself to take and make it so I had to have a payee. See, because at first they thought I was they tried to I wasn't trying to get a mental on my thing. They just decided that there was no, they made me jump through a bunch of hoops. I went to San Jose, and when I got to San Jose, I was there for a fair hearing about my Social Security, and I got the runaround. You couldn't even enter the place from the street that they told me, the street that the address was on, to go to the fair hearing. And when I got there, the security guards told me to leave and that there was no fair hearings that day. And I mean, it was really like a last minute. They had changes from the first court date to a second court date, and I don't understand what to do about it. I'm going to have to go see a lawyer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So back to getting a job, what kind of resources do you think would help you get a job?
First, I need to know if my brain's going to be okay, if my head is okay, because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I get dizzy spells sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been a while since I had a seizure.
Do you eat healthily?
I try to, but I mean, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I understand that.
I mean, I try to eat healthy.
You get some exercise at least.
Yeah.
That's one thing I
Yeah.
notice about people out here is you're kind of forced to get exercise.
For sure.
So there's definitely a much lower obesity rate. But of course, there's also a lot of unhealthy skinniness, because there is a lot of malnutrition, because a lot of people, they have access to food, of course, because they have the EBT, and which is enough to, with supplement, is enough to eat nice food. But then they sell the EBT card, use it to buy drugs, and then all of a sudden now they're in a bad situation nutrition-wise. Do you see that going on, the selling of EBT cards?
I've seen it before. I mean, it was that way in San Francisco too.
What do you think about people who do that? Like, not non-judgmentally, of course, because obviously they're struggling with mental health issues. But how does that like make you feel to see that, knowing that they're probably not going to be spending that money in a good way?
Uh, you know, I'm, I mean, I understand that the people have different needs and different understandings of what they want and what their vices are. So uh, I've had to change the way that I felt about a lot of things because I'm more uh, up close and I see it. I mean, I grew up around drugs, and I grew up around heroin and methamphetamine and cocaine and marijuana and all those other prescription drugs. But uh, the Fetty thing is really, really bad. You know, that they do that. You know, and I mean, I've been a drug user most of my life, so and that's pot and alcohol and methamphetamine.
Have you ever smoked meth or another drug and thought it was laced?
I have smoked meth and it was laced, and I went to the hospital for Fetty. But I think it was a xylene, whatever that one is. It's a tranquilizer that they told everybody, warned everybody to look out for.
Oh,
And
really?
it makes your breathing slow down, and you just kind of want to go to sleep. And I was afraid I'd die if I went to sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the dealer who gave you that, I'm guessing they didn't tell you that it was laced.
No, no, he should. I should have known. He didn't do anything else. I didn't. I should have known.
So, what do you think about? So here's a political idea that I have: enforcing drug dealers to have a receipt with every single drug that they sell, a receipt with the exact chemical composition of the drug to ensure that it's not laced. And if they don't follow, the receipt, let's say they put fentanyl in a batch of meth, that they go to prison for that. And controversially, like let's say that we legalized all drugs and
Decriminalized.
legalize, more or less the same thing, but different,
It's different. Yeah.
but more or less the same. And then we only punish people who sell drugs without being honest as to what they're saying. So, I mean, in theory, you can sell a little bit of meth with fentanyl in it, but if you sell that meth and you're telling people it's meth, but it's really not, it's really laced,
Yeah.
then you have super hard punishment, like labor camp style punishment, because you're essentially killing people or potentially killing people selling a fake product. What are your thoughts on this? This is spitballing, by the way.
Okay. Well, my thoughts on that is that people know when they buy street drugs that they're taking a big chance of whether or not they're getting what they are supposed to be getting, unless they deal with the same people all the time.
Mhm.
Okay. But then you've got they get in trouble, they get busted, and everything else. But then with the way that it works right now, like if someone ODs, they don't go to jail anymore, for being under the influence, or for ODing, because it was like that before. Some people went to jail for that, and people ran from the scene whenever other people OD'd, and they were left there to dead or to die.
Mhm.
And it's a lot better that they have some interaction and understanding about it, because it's a worldwide problem. I mean, it's not just here, and I mean, it's like that once you've got there's like they give out they do the needle exchange, okay, to try to keep people from making a big mess with their needles and so on and so forth. But you've got the other side of that is that isn't that acceptable behavior, labeling it acceptable behavior to be a hypodermic needle user, right? Uh, so when you deal with acceptable behaviors, most of us that are in my group of age group, and just right above or right below my age group, which I'm 55, would be introduced to this by first seeing their parents usually, right?
Mhm.
And second, seeing their friends, and then it's a question of acceptable behaviors. You know, once they they try to act like okay, it's okay to help it be not such a bad problem, and then we'll take it away. It's not going to help anything when they take it away. It's going to go back to being a bad problem. Uh, but if you notice that most of the people don't get as sick as they used to on the heroin and the fatty whenever they are not taking it, and they're as you say abstaining, they don't get as sick as they used to. They used to be all over the place getting sick and falling out in the street, you know, and they're not so bad anymore. And it's not because they have that much. It's because God changed it a little bit for them. And I'm thankful for God that happened, because I was one of the people that was asking God to change that in particular, because that sickness is really bad, you know.
Tolerance has changed.
No. It doesn't come with the same sickness anymore. It comes with a lesser sickness now.
Really?
Yeah, really.
So you can take more?
No. No, so if you are addicted to the substance, like heroin, you're addicted to heroin, they used to be a very brutal type of, a very bad, brutal sickness. I know that they did a lot more than the people here do too, you know. I mean, because it was a lot more than that I saw as a youngster when I was a teenager what they were doing.
So the sickness has changed.
Yeah, the sickness has changed a lot because they would all be really bad sick, and then they get sick. It's not, and especially off the fetty, but not so much off the heroin anymore. I don't know what else to say about that.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes, thank you, God.
Speaking of Jesus, what do you think of Jesus?
I love Jesus. And Jesus loves me. You too.
That's awesome. What do you think of America?
America's a good place to live. I mean, I don't know any place else though. See?
Have you visited other countries?
I've never been anywhere else.
Oh, really? How many states have you been to?
I don't know, 20.
It's a lot. That's pretty good. What do you think of capitalism?
Capitalism is good. I like capitalism because it gives you something to strive for, and it gives the government less hold on everything. Whenever you think of other types of, you know, economic understanding in a government and in a country, at least you know that you have a chance to get ahead, and you don't, you know, it's not like if your family was in serfdom, you know, if your family was on a low income family, you just don't stay just a low income family for, you know, good. You can actually strive to do better. And I don't really know how it works in other countries, but I think you know.
What would you change about the current social welfare system in America if you could change anything?
Okay. Are you saying in the financial understanding or?
Like, yeah, you know, like the social safety nets we have. You know, in California, we have a lot of resources available to really everybody who's in need. And sometimes they can be sources of controversy because, you know, for example, people who are houseless are a huge controversy in the state right now because it takes a huge portion of the state's money. And of course, most of that money does not directly go into the homeless in many cases, not always. But in many
most cases, it does not go directly to the homeless. It goes to
salaries.
For other people's jobs to provide for the homeless.
Right. It goes indirectly to the homeless, and many times that means salaries. You know, that includes the police many times.
Yeah, see, and on that doesn't necessarily help the problem when they do that, because they, I mean, it's not. I mean, I would. I
mean, you recall when there was a giant camp over there, right?
I was there.
Were you camping there?
Yeah, I camped there.
Okay.
I camped at Ross. I camped there.
So you remember those times? Like those were kind of like turbulent times, big controversies. People were campaigning to allow it to stay, or campaigning for a permanent spot. It's still going on. People want a permanent spot for the houseless because they don't want to be chased around spot to spot.
Right.
And I mean that was huge. I remember when this was going down, it was huge. And cleaning it up, for example, costed a lot of money. I don't have the exact number, I don't think you can really put an exact number on something like that, but it was a lot of money they spent on
They
clearing
didn't,
that
they
area.
didn't really clean it up. They waited and washed us away. They made sure that they just waited and they let go all the water from upstream and helped wash us away, wash everything away. They didn't have to, no, and they made a lot of money off of the things that they took from us because they were coming through over there and just taking everything from people. I mean, just come up and tell you that's it and just take your things. And they did that on the street here too. And I mean, all over the place. And it's just recently that stopped. I mean, I haven't experienced it recently, but I experienced it for several years, a long time before that. You know, since I got here. Not quite when I got here, but you know, we had the other camp up there on Highway 1 too, and then we had Ross Camp. Okay, and if you think about it, those, you know, there was twice over here they had a camp, and they had the camp out on Highway 9 or 19, whichever it is, going out to the Poconos, and that was like, you know, a lot of people. And then after that was done, in order to, I don't know exactly what they're thinking, but we had a service that was over there for the Porta-Johns. Okay, they decided that they weren't gonna take the blue and gray water that they have whenever they're done, the fecal matter in it and that, and they weren't gonna take it to a dump. They just went out there on the side of the highway, and they had to, I think it's 1,700 gallon truck. It was a real big truck. It was at the time. I think it said Universal on it, but I'm not positive. And I know that the guys aren't here around us working anymore, and at the shelter, at the homeless shelter at the loft. But they were then, and they just I caught them doing it. They were just shooting it out with the hose, pumping it out all over the side of the hill, and it was disgusting. And then all kinds of people tried to make up excuses for them, like saying that was grass and planting grass and all the rest of this. And I'm not. They weren't doing that. There was fecal matter. I was out there. It made me sick to my stomach. And you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say except that I'd have to have more time to prepare an understanding or something decent to say to you about a lot of these things that you're asking me about.
Yeah, I understand. It's complicated. I mean, you really look into it, like all the salaries and all of the individual organizations that are working with the government, like the nonprofits essentially, you put them all together and it becomes a really big financial jungle.
Okay, but then if you look at it this way, there's a whole nother thing you got to look at here. It's called 4 separate groups of people that control the place. Okay, they decided when they came in with the first load with 7,500 people, and they all 4 different sections of people that knew each other prior to that, families that are intertwined, and so on and so forth. They came from other states, came here and decided that they were going to put put a hold on the market, put a keyhole on the market, so that all they do is service those 4 different groups. They don't hire anybody else. And if there's a problem, they do just like an incorporation would do and change their name and switch to another group. And it's like, that's not even acceptable. And they keep doing it, and they give less and less. And they're doing actually less and less and less, except for those private enterprise understandings that they okay, those pallets they have, those were from their own group. They did insider trading, basically. They already had it planned once they brought it up, and they already had it planned so that they would do that, you know, and have it happen that way, so that they could keep down the spendings that they need to have. But they don't. They went from having a lunch or a breakfast and a dinner for the homeless community here at the loft, to now it's only for people that are at the loft. Okay, and that was even before they put the extra pallets in. And it's what about the actual problem that other people are out there and they don't necessarily have food. And there are lots of problems that you can have with food stamps and understanding of going from one place to another. If you don't have it, if you're not able, like if somebody got extradited from somewhere, right, to here, okay, then they got out of jail a short time after that. They since they did not cancel their food stamps out where they were at before, that food stamp card will keep going as long as it's got something on it, okay? And it'll keep them from getting food stamps anywhere else they're at. And I went through that in San Francisco too, and it was really hard on me. And that's how, you know, I mean, I don't know, except that they have kept the same people in the same type of positions, you know, no matter what, since I got here. When I got here, there was a black man, his name is, I want to say Maurice, maybe it was Maurice. He was working at the loft, and another black man there, or colored man, was messing with a patron, right, in the shower area, and had gotten caught messing around. Well, the person wasn't there that had seen the incident, and they told the other guy he was being fired, Maurice, that he was being fired because he was a friend of mine prior to coming here, and he wasn't that kind of guy. He wasn't messing around with nobody at the loft, and the other guy, his name was Jeff, and he did, and Jeff went away scot-free, but Maurice got fired. And he tried to look for legal aid in here, and he was having a hard time finding any help at all. They really make it hard on you here when you try to get help. They don't. The people that are in the positions that are supposed to be helping, like the Social Security office, they're not really trying to help you. They just want you to go away if you're homeless, and they don't want you to get anything. They just want you to be gone. They could care less how, most of them.
There's certainly a large bureaucracy surrounding homelessness and a whole mix of issues. When you're pouring billions of dollars into, you know, the nonprofit network, you know, there's going to be a lot of money lost in translation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, especially if you're dealing with the corruption that was here. Because I lived in Kern County when they were doing their reform 20 years ago. All right, I lived in Long Beach, Signal Hill area whenever they were having problems there too. Okay, with their police department and everything. And then I came here, and it's way worse here. It was way, way, way worse here than I had seen it in either one of those places. And yeah, no matter how you slice it up, it's a bunch of shit, you know.
Indeed.
It's a bunch of shit where we get fed about a lot of things, and then you got like, if you go to MHCAN and you use their internet, you're not even on the internet. You're on a closed-in network. They get the information from the internet and give it to you. And they'll run you to a blank page. If they don't want you to find what you're searching for or get the help you want, they can cancel it out right there on you.
Tell me, sir, what do you think of Gavin Newsom?
I don't even know about Newsom.
Huh?
So is it a speaker?
Oh, it's for the audio. I'm doing an interview for YouTube. No worries.
That's okay.
Feel free to join in if you want.
What are you doing an interview for?
It's for YouTube, just talking about like life. You interested?
What's that?
Are you interested in joining?
I mean, maybe. I'll probably check it out.
You want a granola bar?
And I'm going to get on down the road. I think that's about all
Oh,
for today.
well,
Yeah.
let me pause this.